Hello everyone, it's Infinity Gamer here, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing Acid House Cyberpunk Terrain Kit. Now, if Acid House sounds familiar, those of you on the channel will know that I've already reviewed an Acid House terrain set, and spoiler alert, I really quite liked it. This is the same but different. It's the same concept from Acid House Terrain that they are famous for, but this is a new set that's more cyberpunk themed, which I think is going to play really well into the Infinity style of things. This is one of the supersized bundles. It's a huge amount. We're actually going to show how much terrain comes in this so you can see how much of a table it can do. But I'm also going to refamiliarize you with why the Acid House terrain is a bit different to all the other terrain sets out there, who it's perfect for, and then we're going to get some close-up looks at the terrain itself and how good it looks. So let's get this unboxed. Now the box is staying around because it's quite key to the concept of the Acid House terrain sets as it is. In that, the whole point of the Acid House terrain family is that it's super easy to pack down and store once you're done gaming. So for me, these terrain sets are ideal either as terrain that's in your roster, because you might have different sets of terrain at any one time if you want to be playing on different themed tables, or if you're in something like an apartment or in a home, which, as you can see, I've kind of moved setting for this video, where you probably get stuff out to play and then pack it away again because of your usable space. In terms of how this packs down, you can see here, like already opening the box, this is the entire terrain bundle, and it fits in a box that, I mean, guessing is never my strong suit anyway. There's probably real measurements, that's maybe 12 inches by about 20, 18 inches. And not very deep at all. You're looking at 4, 5, maybe 6 inches there. And this is the entire terrain set, fits in this box. So in terms of storing it and packing it away, so much easier than MDF, which obviously once assembled doesn't pack down unless you've got the, Russian nesting doll style MDF terrain, which, some MDF companies are really good at doing. Others, they don't really think about how things store into things. This is exactly what the Acid House terrain crew do very well, is they think about how easy it is to pick up, put away, and get sorted. In terms of assembly, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't looked at any instructions, but I know that these kits come together really well from the previous review I did for Acid House terrain. One of the things that they do have as a selling point on here is that it's just no glue, no paint, no clips. These are designed to go up and go down very, very quickly and easily. One of the ways that they achieve this is by color coding, as you can see here, the different buildings, and then, I don't know how to describe like the bolster aspects. So you've kind of got outers and inners is kind of how I explain it to anyone who asks about the Acid House terrain. The outer is the pretty stuff, and we're going to get obviously some gorgeous close-ups of how great the artwork on this Cyberpunk terrain specifically. The previous one I reviewed was lovely, don't get me wrong. I've used it in photos because the detail on there is better than I can paint on MDF, and so it works really nicely for close-up stuff. I think this is even better. I'm gonna stick to that because I do. And how it works, so you can see here I've got like a small building with a red tab on it, and then in here I've got a big stack of red inners. The instructions are on these boxes, but it basically tells you to do something really simple, which is to get your outer, expand it out, so obviously flat packs down, expand it out into the shape that it's going to be, which for all of this is relatively boxy. And then with your inner, you do exactly the same. You expand it out, and then what you're going to do is put it in. I've done it upside down because I'm an egg. So the tabs go in beforehand. Oh yeah, because then visually you can actually see, that makes a lot more sense, because as you fold them in, they've actually got the cool design in there. And then this box goes in via the top so that it compresses down those side bits. And then this one sits just ever so slightly shy. So when I put the base in line with that, there's like a cool little lip here. Not too much, but just a little bit. And then that's it. That's the first piece of terrain assembled. Let's pause this video. I'm going to assemble the whole table and see how long it takes me. Right, so I've just explained that this Acid House terrain set is going to be easy to put together. And I am going to see how easy it is to put together. I have one piece of terrain completed already. Let's see how long it's going to take me to assemble that full box with no instructions and no real clue what I'm doing. Let's go. Okay, so I'm pausing this slightly to explain the fact that having gotten to the bottom of the box, I've then found that there are actually tiles for the terrain set. I'm going to lay out the tiles and see how much. So what I've got here in front of me is my 48 by 48 standard Infinity gaming table mat thing. Let's have a quick look at how much of it these tiles cover before we go any further. Okay, so the answer is the full table and then some. I actually wonder, not really knowing other gaming systems and having not played 40K for about 4 years, I'm wondering if this actually makes up the difference to make the old 6x4 40K table sizes. But moral of the story, there's plenty of these tiles for a game of Infinity. You may have noticed that there's little gaps in there. If not, there will be close-ups that show you. These little tabs here help connect them to stop them from sliding around during gameplay. But as you'll see from the close-up shots, the artwork on here is fantastic. There's random light sources, which I'm sure will complement its really good street setup. I haven't laid it particularly well because I've just done them as they come in order. But it looks as though there's kind of streets of different sizes. And so even though it's a classic street block grid layout, which for Infinity, you know, everyone's doing the 45 degree. That's very much the style at the moment because it's easier to set up a table that way. But I think it would be possible to do these, have a couple of firing lanes. Like there's nothing wrong with firing lanes that go all the way through a map if you wanted to follow the map itself. So the tiles, there's plenty to do an Infinity table, full size plus some, and they look great. So if you've got nothing, like you don't have a neoprene mat like I've got here, and you want a kit that's basically ready to take your table from 0 to hero instantly, then, I mean, this has everything to start with. But I think the proof is going to be, once we've got everything assembled, how does it all stack up and does it look kind of table worthy? It's all good for the, you know, the marketing material and those photos to make things look good. How does it actually look in the flesh? Let's get this assembled and see. Once assembled, it was time for the ultimate test, getting it onto the table and seeing how it plays. Terrain is an incredibly important part of Infinity. It's pretty much the third player. It dictates the firing lines, obviously, but also the strategies that you can use, and even in terms of the initiative, if you are on a table that isn't symmetrical, that has an obvious advantage on one side, that can really play as to whether you want to take first turn or whether you want to take deployment. As we were playing on the Acid House terrain, there wasn't a single angle that I could take a photo of my minis and it not look good because of the amazing prints on the side of these buildings. Bryn, who I was playing against, had actually seen the Acid House terrain set that I previously reviewed and had said that that print, while beautiful, it was very similar across all the buildings. He commented straight away at how stunning the design was for this Acid House Cyberpunk terrain set. The prints looked different, the signs, everything made it really stand out and look like a lived-in environment, which was excellent to then play in because it adds the thematic nature. From a playability perspective, there were a couple of aspects that we picked up during the game. One, not being able to play through the buildings was not a problem at all. I thought in my initial assessment of those buildings that it was going to reduce the playing area of the table, but because the buildings themselves, there's a good amount of them, but they're actually relatively small, it didn't impede the play whatsoever. There wasn't really an instance where we wanted to go through to take a straight line. It actually worked out really well going around them. And for myself, knowing that I'm going to hopefully be doing battle reports in the future with a top-down camera, actually having buildings that you can't go into means that you as the viewer will actually be able to see what's going on and not forget about a model hidden in the building, which I have done several times when playing. The other thing was that we noticed that the buildings did have a habit of sliding around very easily with a small nudge. Now, when you're using metal models, it wasn't so bad actually with some of the sidecars being moved around, but we were both very heavy-handed and did send a building or two moving out of alignment. We did think that a little bit of that was the card mat that came with the set, and both wondered if playing on a neoprene mat would actually reduce that because it would increase the friction that was available for the buildings and might stop them from sliding around quite so much. So handy hint there is that you give it a go on the card mats that come, and they look stunning, so that's really good. But maybe also give it a try on a neoprene mat if you do find that they're sliding around. That should reduce the issue. Other than that, we had to look twice to find things like ladders because the artwork itself is so good that everything looks hyper realistic and is super stylish. But we're used to playing on terrain, and this is more of because of where we've come from rather than Acid House's terrain is set in saying that. Landers stand out quite a bit on most MTF terrain. They are additional to the building itself, so you can actually see them. They're a 3D element, as opposed to what we're obviously seeing on the printed terrain, which is that they are in the design itself. So you've actually got to look at the design and see, is that a ladder? Is that this? So, that's just one thing that takes a little bit of getting used to, but I don't think that's a negative of the Acid House terrain, because what you're getting as a trade-off is something that looks absolutely stunning. It took me maybe only about 10 minutes to pack down the whole table, put it all into the box and put it back on the shelf once the game was done, which was amazing because then I've been playing on the dining room table recently because my table is a work in progress project and that hasn't been built yet. And so I'm actually out of the gaming room and playing out in the house. And so it was nice to be able to pack that down quickly so that the house could return to normal and people use the dining room table and not have my stuff lying all over it. So in essence, the Acid House terrain set is fantastic. It looks stunning. It definitely serves a niche. If you're able to have a full table set up, it depends on whether you have to be packing things down, whether you've got the storage space for like a full table of MDF, which does take up a huge amount of room. You've got to be relatively lucky to have that sort of space, I think. This is the solution for you. It does pack down really, really small, packs down quickly. It's light to carry all of that around. Fits in something that's maybe slightly larger than a couple of shoe boxes put together, which is so practical if you're going to like a different venue to be playing your games with your mates. So convenient. The design, as I've said many, many times, just looks phenomenal. Like from a photography standpoint, it really does a lot of the heavy lifting in making an environment look good. So that is the Acid House Cyberpunk terrain set. I personally think it's a huge leap from their other sets, just in terms of the artwork that's been put into this one. And so I think if you ever get the opportunity to check it out, you really, really should, because it's well worth a look, if nothing else. Have you played on this set? Have you played on any of the other Acid House terrain sets? What did you think of them? I'm really keen to hear your thoughts on what else Acid House are doing and the really different concept that they're bringing to terrain, which I think is really cool and definitely is going to be serving a lot of people's needs very, very well. I really appreciate you watching this video. Thank you so much, and I will be back very soon with another one.